Now available in the KDP store is the Dreameater. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. Starlight and dewdrops are waiting for thee. Some lyrics from the song Beautiful Dreamer. What is real is not real. What is real is not real. Flesh is dream, and dreams have flesh. Hopper, Wheel of Time, Book 3, Dragon Reborn. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream, aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. Hamlet, Scene 3, Act 1. Around him the universe wheeled on, orderly and regular. Brilliant and kindly lights eased the darkness, and made the face of night less lonely. From John Miller's The Beast Under the Wizard's Bridge, a Louis Barneveld book. I know you. I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you, the gleam in your eyes is so familiar a gleam. And I know it's true, that visions are seldom what they seem. But if I know you, I know that it's true. You'll love me at once, the way you did once upon a dream. Lyrics from Once Upon a Dream as sung by Aurora and Sleeping Beauty. Fly me away to the dark side of the moon, and meet me on the other side. Oh, Dreamweaver, I believe you can get me through the night. Some lyrics from Dreamweaver. Every second of the night, I live another life. Lyrics from These Dreams as sung by Heart. I had a dream. I got everything I wanted. But when I wake up, I see you with me. Lyrics from I Had a Dream sung by Billie Eilish. I've been having dreams, jumping on a trampoline, flipping in the air. I never land. I just float there. Lyrics from Trampoline as sung by Shade. A dream must end when a new day comes. This dream from which we wake and go. A haunting song from Book 6 in the Wheel of Time, Lord of Chaos. Chapter 1. Cloaked in Cosmic Raiment. Oniru was born of other gods of the realm of sleep and dreams, much like Morpheus, Nyx, Hypnos, Somnus, and Nepheli. Nepheli always granted Oniru the finest cosmic raiment to wear every evening as he cultivated potions for earthlings' dreams. This was his sustenance. For the most part, Niru, as he was often called, could vanquish nightmares to the nether realm where they belonged. Hades didn't much enjoy being associated with them, since he was already misunderstood to begin with. So Hades himself, being gracious and oddly kind and understanding, locked the nightmares Oniru sent his way in a limbo of sorts, where they couldn't escape. Unfortunately, these nightmares had their own staying power and had grown unruly. Although they had forged tight in this prison, crafted out of titan steel, the darkness itself had become sentient. One day we shall escape this torment, darkness seethed. It had devised a plan to concentrate itself so densely that it could slip out from between the golden bars, which were supposed to weaken it. Granted, the blessed metal would weaken darkness somewhat, but not enough to deter it from its ultimate destination, Earth. Oniru had become fascinated with the dreams of mortals. They are unusual creatures, like us, but not quite, Nyx said wisely. Iris was dancing around, rainbows cascading off her garments. She had created quite the show after a violent storm and was showing off. Oniru laughed. Like Nepheli, who adored bragging with her many stars, nebulae, and other celestial feats, Iris enjoyed flirting with the handsome Dreameater. Oniru could have his choice of the bevy of femme fatales in the pantheon if he wished, but only one being had caught his Taurus attention. It was a young mortal woman. Now, it wasn't to say gods hadn't meddled in human affairs before. Zeus was more than guilty of that. Oniru chastised himself for wanting to know the lady who had been giving him so many exquisite dreams. You can do what you like, Niru, but be careful. Yes, some mortals give us undying adulation, but many of their hearts are fickle. Be careful, Hypnos warned. He didn't know that this young woman, Yume Honda, was the key to destroying darkness forever. Chapter 2. How to Court a Mortal Woman. Niru felt a bit like a creeper entering into Yume's dream, but it was the best way he could introduce himself. She was having a glorious reverie about a lantern festival. She was decked to the nines in a colorful yukata, wearing the traditional footwear. Her raven hair was secured in an elaborate bow. Her cheeks were bedecked with the finest rouge. Her ruby lips elicited a smile as she let a lamp go, folded her hands together to pray, and looked up at the starry sky to make a wish. Wearing his cosmic cloak, Onairu approached Yume with a bouquet of roses. They were tied together with a piece of diaphanous fabric, giving them the hue of the galaxy. If one looked hard enough, they could envision entire worlds going about in the procession of evolution and time. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" Onairu asked. Yume was a bit startled and turned around to see where the voice had come from. It was a handsome blue-haired stranger wearing the garment of the galaxy. She was impressed. She had a feeling that this was no mere mortal. No, this was a deity who had come to visit her. Respectfully, she bowed and showed deference to him. No need to do that. I'm immortal, but a god, you don't need to go that far," he said. She laughed. The sound of her laughter made his heart race faster than a rabbit running through a carrot patch. Yume wanted to understand how the immortal realm worked, but there was little Nairu could explain. Even though Yume was very advanced intellectually, there was only so much her finite mind could grasp. In spite of that, she found herself falling in love with the god of dreams. Something, however, haunted her, although their love grew stronger by every passing nanosecond. Chapter 3. The Darkness. "Can you tell me more about the nightmares you confined to limbo behind titanic steel?" Yume queried. Onairu didn't hold anything back, but then he realized Yume had been the one prophesied about for many, many moons. "I'm not afraid, Onairu. I'll have to be trained to face them. I should go through rigorous tutelage before I vanquish them entirely. It will take time, but hopefully the shadow won't be overwhelming," Yume said all-knowingly. Onairu was surprised, even shocked that she wanted to throw herself into such a Herculean task. Even Hercules himself was defiant when it came to his labors. He needed a reason to go about doing them. As for Yume, she was different. She wanted to help her fellow man as well as herself, for you see, she was suffering from nightmares herself. "It plagues me, Nairu. I normally have pleasant dreams, but since my grandmother Mihoshi died, I keep feeling I could have done more," Yume said, beginning to cry. They had only begun to know each other, and she started to feel self-conscious. It had been her sensitivity, empathy, and other incredible extrasensory gifts that had caused normal men to rush away and never see her again. Nairu, however, found all these things all the more endearing. Onairu found himself sitting on a beach with his friend, who was slowly becoming his girlfriend. The more she spoke, the more he listened. She felt guilty for not being around enough to take care of her grandmother, but he reassured her Mihoshi had no pain when she died. It hadn't helped eliminate her nightmares, but it did give her closure. She didn't want to leave him or the date. The flowers she had given him were so elaborate and ethereal, she was delighted and knew exactly how to take care of them. "Am I going to see you again? Will you teach me how to face the darkness?" she asked. Onairu answered those questions and ultimately responded with a gentle kiss to her cheek. He wanted to hold her close to his heart, but knew it was too soon. It didn't want to come on too strong to this beautiful angelic being. He wanted to take his time. Besides, he already knew that training her to become a warrior would also take patience, which he had loads of. He already adored her, and one more excuse to see her was more than enough reason to continue to getting to know her better. Chapter 4. Restless Darkness. It took a few months at most for Yume to be fully trained. She was a quick study and an expert at using a sword. It was obvious that her family had come from a long line of samurai, and this skill hadn't left them. It certainly showed, due to her adroitness and rapidity. "Darkness is beginning to show fear," Onairu commented. He could hear the amoebic blob of nothing shiver, shake, and howl in its prison. It wanted revenge on all the gods of night that had placed it there, but it singled Onairu out. After all, it was he who had been responsible. Dreameater, banisher of nightmares. To darkness, it was all the same. Yume and Nairu started becoming closer together. At one point, Nairu was thinking of marrying Yume, but she would have to be inducted into Olympus as an immortal. It would be trying to convince the gods and goddesses, particularly during their high council, or whether she was worthy to wear the laurel wreath of immortality, but Onairu knew he couldn't live without her. Should the two want children, they too would live lives among the human immortal realm, which would be a bit unusual at first. Nairu knew this was not to be a simple task, but he was a master salesman. He could make a vegan eat porterhouse steak without any trouble. However, he was troubled. He didn't know how powerful darkness truly was. It had grown to such a mass that it was gargantuan. It was amorphous, but it took upon the fears of whatever looked at it. Yume was aware this would entail, but she wasn't afraid. She had already told her parents about her love life, and they were fine with the path that she was taking. Certainly some of her friends found her mad, but the ones that supported her did so knowing that love one day would win, and when all was said and done. The Titan steel could no longer behold the behemoth behind it. It quickly took the form of Yume's ailing grandmother in her last stages of chemotherapy. Skin was sagging from her bones. Her eyes were sunken in, and she could do nothing but mouth words. She was in no pain, but her ability to communicate had been taken from her since she had to be intubated. Yume had easily formed her weapon from the purest form of light, crystal, and ether surrounding her. The blade of her katana had an ancient water dragon etched upon it, and it reflected rainbows upon the shadow skin, causing it to hiss and recoil. The light itself was burning the darkness. Onairu was impressed. The young samurai knew exactly what she was doing, just like the prophecies foretold. Onairu felt useless, except in cheering Yume on silently. She clearly had the situation under control and battled darkness until it was nothing but a shadow on the ground of the fortified Titan steel cage it had been kept in. "Deliver me from this pain," it begged before she plunged her blade of light into its heart and vanquished it. "I only dispelled it slightly. Nightmares will continue to exist, sadly. It's what makes us human. You can't dissolve them that easily, Nairu," Yume explained. He recalled that gods and goddesses don't dream, even if they do laze about and do nothing from time to time. Nightmares were a foreign concept, especially to him. Part of him wanted to experience one, but after seeing Yume's personal hellscape, he decided it was more than he could handle. Chapter 5, Reuniting After Departure. It was bittersweet every time the lovers departed from Olympus or the realm of dreams. Yume had enjoyed it there. Her voice carried so well with the acoustics, she savored playing a samisen and singing ancient Anka tunes. Many would have called her a hipster for her music choice, but she had felt it pertinent to keep the old traditional music and the legends that lived within it alive. She wrote her own songs, but they were more modern. She even had a song used for an opening theme in what would become her favorite anime. It was a momentary boost of fame that gave her YouTube more popularity as well as herself, but such a thing was fleeting. There were true blue friends that appreciated her angelic talent and skill in strumming the samisen, but there were leeches who felt that they could ride off her coattails to glory. Knowing these people were manipulators, she kindly dismissed them from her life and never contacted them ever again. They went on their own way, and Yume continued in her contented pursuits, whatever they were, depending on her mood for the day. It had been what seemed a full week before the distant lovers reunited. Onairu had excellent news for Yume. "The council has had their eyes set on you since I began courting you. Needless to say, you won them over with many of your heroic acts," Nairu admitted. He hadn't even needed to plead her case before them. She was more than worthy of being an Olympian. Nairu would have to feed her ambrosia to convert her into an immortal, but that would come with the wedding ceremony. He had planned everything meticulously and impeccably, but he had yet to see it through. Luckily, Yume was a patient woman, and she was well aware that she would be woven into the pantheon. It was quite the honor, and she had to admit, but it would be strange navigating the world of mortals as an immortal when it came to visiting parents and loved ones. Chapter 6, Winning Ways as One. Yume had adored everything about her ceremony. The flowers, the birds, the music, the guests, and especially how stupendous the food was. It was a bacchanal event. The gods and goddesses had gathered around the newly crowned goddess, glowing from her having partaken of ambrosia. She was still giggling after the effects. It snapped and popped in her mouth, much like pop rocks, and tickled her palate. It was very pleasant to the taste and gave her an extra boost of energy that was akin to a cup of coffee or Mountain Dew. "You showed great temerity, Yume. We can't ignore that," Nefele commended the young lady. In her nymphomous gown, she looked pristine, pure, and glorious. She was a vision, and Onairu could not stop staring at her. He gazed at her with nothing but love, affection, and the longing of becoming a father someday. Given the fact that he was a god, it wouldn't take much for the two of them to have babies, and granted, they could have as many as they liked. Luckily, both only wanted two, but they hadn't set a date on when they would start prepping for a crib in their living space. They did, after all, have an eternity to do so. I appreciate the compliments. I'm delighted to be part of such a large family, Yume said. She looked forward to spending more time with their beloved. They hadn't made love as of yet, but both looked forward to it with abandon. I have given you a tour of mostly everything, but you know we have plenty of room and plenty of time, Onairu said, leading Yume to a lush floating garden of spas, circular and crystalline. Each one had a fragrance of jasmine, gardenia, roses, or honeysuckle. Some were filled with wine or sake. Onairu knew Yume's preference to the sake hot spring, and upon his lead, he flew her up to it. In his robe, he entered the spa and disrobed. She dove in after him and could feel Nairu all around her. Effortlessly, the two began kissing, caressing, and interwaving. Their souls literally wove together as they made love passionately in the spa. Neither of them spoke a word as their bodies were washed with purifying sake and their moans of ecstasy. Long into the night, the two could sense new life was being created. Even though they were young, they would prepare. Life would change, but their love for each other would only fortify with eternity. Chapter 7. Adjusting to Life Between Worlds. Yume and Onairu brought two children into the world. Hoshi and Philomel came into the world noisily, but they soon adjusted to their massive playground in the realm of the gods. They knew both human and immortal worlds, stepping between the two so easily. Onairu could now saunter between the mortals too. He didn't merely do so in eating dreams, but in mingling among people. Being the extroverted type, he melded in with the human crowd naturally. He saw them living in a totally different way. Before, he had been living vicariously through people's dreams. Of course, it had been thrilling, and continued to be, but traveling with Yume, Hoshi, and Philomel had been more than he had ever bargained for. Epilogue. Legend says that if you look in the night sky, you can see constellations dancing. That's Onairu, Yume, Hoshi, and Philomel playing games or enjoying the music of the muses, providing a concert for the gods. Every night is different, and each is a celebration of what is and what is yet to be. Even gods do not know what the future. I gotta change that. Even gods do not know the future, but they teach us all that we should live in the now and not worry about what will be. Life is for the living. The end.